Yes. And so I'm cautioning anybody who's listening and anyone who will listen to me and you to please, yes, fight them. Yes, read Ron Paul's book, End of the Fed, and many others.
Now, you're a big Ron Paul fan.
Love Ron Paul.
Yeah, what woke you up before you make that point?
I think I've always had a problem with authority, and I always questioned. I just never felt right. I always felt like I was being lied to. And it became...
No, you don't question government, sir. That's racist Al-Qaeda talk.
Yeah, exactly.
Thomas Jefferson was a terrorist, and you may be with him.
Thomas Jefferson is rolling in his grave. He's everything that he warned against.
He's Al-Qaeda. He's un-American.
Right.
George Washington's even worse. Come on.
Right.
Come on, get with the program. Globalization's good.
Right.
I'm sorry, the point you were trying to make when I interrupted you. You said if I could just get one thing across to the people, so I interrupted.
If I could just get one thing across to people is this. We have to fight them, yes. You have to educate yourself and your family and your friends and the people that belong to your church and temples, yes. But you have to protect yourself as well. There are things you should be doing right now with regards to your finances, with regards to getting your home in order, to getting your block in order, with regards to knowing how to fight martial law, how to fix yourself not fix yourself, but how to get wise spiritually.
Get your head screwed on.
Get your head screwed on. There's things. And this movie, this series, in part, I'm not saying this is the fix-all. This is the beginning, right? Is this series helps people.
It's a roadmap.
It's a roadmap, along with your work and Ron Paul's work.
Oh, no, I love the fact that there's so many great films coming out. And this one is truly different because it is in the long form and really gets into detail from all these different angles, but that it creates a gestalt that all tells the same story.
It tells the same story. And frankly, when the economy collapses or continues to collapse and it gets worse and there are bread lines and bank failures.
Well, we already have 40 million people on food stamps. That's a 21st century bread line.
Right, and more unemployment and hyperinflation. And for anybody who doesn't know what that is, go Google hyperinflation Weimar Germany, hyperinflation Argentina, hyperinflation Zimbabwe. See, Americans think that we are impervious to...
But the very same group of globalists have set this up here.
Exactly. And it's happening in Greece and Slovenia and Spain. Iceland, exactly. So we're not impervious people.
Iceland had months of almost no food on the shelves. And the bankers said, you must give us basically everything. And then when the people said no and rioted for a year, they found out that the bankers really didn't need all that money and it was all a big scam. But the question is, will we say no?
And you know what's interesting, Alex, and this is what you have been doing so well for so many years, is this. When we collapse, and there are the bread lines and the bank failures, right? Ask yourself, do you want to be the guy at home or do you want to be the guy waiting in the bread line? Because if you prepare yourself now, you'll be the guy at home with your family, right? And other things. Now, what happens when this all collapses? That's when the Patriot Act and all these other draconian legislation.
And what is the media saying? They're saying those of us that were warning and predicted this over a decade ago, like George Humphrey, the economist, who 12 years ago on my show predicted it all and said by 2009, 2010, 11, and he's not just an economist, he's successful in private business. That's the real market, somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
And he said, look, this is designed to destroy us. They've done it in the third world. They're going to do it here. And now we're here. We've been right. And instead of getting a gold star and saying, hey, these guys are great, let's listen to Ron Paul, let's listen to Alex Jones. No, Chris Matthews says in this new piece, I have the script that's coming out next Wednesday, that we are basically Nazis with no evidence. I mean, it's like we're the enemy. We're the bad guys. We have to be dealt with now. Again, because they are the bad guys. Chris Matthews represents the real bad guys. And they know that if we have credibility, they're going to get defeated. So the bad guys are saying we're the terrorist, and in all their training, their Homeland Security mic reports, it's us, the gun owners, the conservatives, the libertarians, the anti-war activists, anybody who is really for freedom and transparency. We are what Homeland Security is designed for. It's not for the people with turbans. Go ahead.
It's just interesting to me that when we actually hear them say we're in a recovery. But what's funny is they talk out of two sides of their mouth. Because when Alan Greenspan is saying we're hitting a credit tsunami, Alan Greenspan, this isn't Ron Paul, that's Alan Greenspan. When Comptroller David Walker is saying this is 25 times bigger than what we thought, and those people are agreeing with you, Alex Jones, who are agreeing with Ron Paul, who's agreeing with anarchists and radicals and leftists and socialists, People, please, it's time to pay attention right now.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is the bankers who engineered this, though, they're saying, oh, it's 25 times worse. According to the economists we've talked to, it's more like 500 times worse. And they know that. They knew when they created 1.5 quadrillion in derivatives, hundreds and hundreds, some cases thousands, more fake wealth than there is real assets in the planet. They knew that they got all the power on the way up, they could buy anybody, and on the way down, they still pose as the savior and enslave everyone. I mean, it is a life and death situation. Ron Paul and others who are great economists, and he's an economist as well, not just a medical doctor. You know, he's been given doctorates for his research and papers on it from von Mises and others. They have put on record that there's a way to monetize the debt, but not have the bankers monetize it. There's a way to fix this. It's going to be painful. But we should have done it a decade ago. I mean, now we are wrecked any way you cut it. But if we let these people continue to pilot things, they're not going to give us any quarter.
That's right.
I mean, they're not going to stop.
Listen, if Ron Paul got elected president, right, we went back on the gold standard and we ended the Fed tomorrow, we'd still be in a boatload of trouble. But that ain't going to happen, I don't think.
No, no.
So we're in real trouble. And, you know, I'm right out there with you fighting this, but I'm also going to look out for myself. I'm also going to prepare my family. Right? And so in this series, we have 150 tips that people can do, right? We can, let me say this. The series is designed not just as a documentary, not just as a survival guide. It's actually designed as a home study course. Throughout the movie, these title cards come up throughout the full 10 hours, and it tells you to do things and write things down and research things and make phone calls and gather your friends around, educating yourself and your family. The time is now. We have to do it, Alex.
Well, we do. And give folks the toll-free number one more time in case they didn't have that. And I'll give the listeners the website. It's thefallofamerica.net, www.thefallofamerica.net. We've got links up on Infowars.com and prisonplanet.com as well. Give folks that number.
The number to get the series is 1-800-655-1577. That's 1-800-655-1577.
Now, Brian Kraft is our guest in studio right now, the filmmaker, along with Jimmy Petula and others that made The Fall of America and The Western World, a survival guide. But I want to shift gears into something that because I keep going back to the demonization. The good news is when they demonized Rand Paul in the last 3 weeks and lied about what he said and changed the transcript from Rachel Maddow, where he had a 3-second delay, and he was going, excuse me, yes, I can hear you. She's like, what, yes, you're forgetting about the Civil Rights Act? He says, no, I didn't say that. I can't hear. And then they changed the transcript, and that's not even one of his issues. He doesn't even talk about it. It's not on his platform. He made clear he doesn't want to get rid of the Civil Rights Act. But it's another media hoax, just like Howard Dean's not perfect, but he's better than Obama. And so they made a big deal out of his roar when there was a crowd screaming, but he had a cordio mic where you could only hear him, basically, and they made, hyped that. Oh, we can't have Howard Dean, who would have beaten Bush, but the cousin Kerry ran instead. And so, I mean, the point is, they rig these things. This big hoax of, oh my gosh, Rand Paul can't win now. His poll numbers in every major poll went up after the 3 weeks of demonization. So as a filmmaker, I want to play for you the trailer, the short trailer from The Rise of the New Right, a documentary that is being put out right now, and it's airing next Wednesday.
I have a message from the Tea Party. We've come to take our government back.
There's a rising tide on the right.
I think the government's too big.
Voiced not just by extremists, but by recruits from the neighborhood.
Our president is a liar.
The Tea Party is determined to take power. What does that mean for America?
We are in deep, Taryn. Deep.
I'm Chris Matthews with a hard look at the rise of the new right.
Premieres June 16th at 7 on MSNBC.
Now, we knew that this was going to be a hit piece early on, but I actually, last night, we got the script sent to us by somebody inside MSNBC that is concerned about it, and it's worse than I even thought. I mean, it is incredible. It implies, word for word, that I'm going to make my listeners go out and murder everyone. it says that this is the same stuff Hitler said and that we're basically the new Hitler and that those of us that don't like what the banks are doing are Nazis with no evidence. I mean, this is a desperation move. What's your take on it?
It is a desperation move. Look, the people in power, the elite, they know exactly what they've done. It's planned. It's built into Keynesian economics. They always inevitably fail. They always inevitably collapse the system and then move on to something else, right? And prop it up again for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and then it collapses again. That's how it's built.
Because the Ponzi scheme gives them an unfair trade advantage.
That's right.
So they've got to run a Ponzi scheme, but they don't go to jail like Madoff at the end. They become your dictator.
Right. They spend the money before the inflation kicks in, right? So, of course, they're doing that. We're in a time right now where they are putting their, what would you say, Alex? They're putting the ribbon on their present to the world.
Yeah, they're bringing us into the controlled implosion.